My name is Zyen, and in this video, I am going to show you the easiest way to handle milk kefir grains. Here's one thing that you need to know about me. I am the laziest of the laziest, especially when it comes to anything to do with the kitchen. If I see a recipe that has more than 5 ingredients, I'm like, I'm gonna skip that. Yeah, I'm a terrible cook. Even when it comes to making drinks, if anything involves more than 2 ingredients, I'm like, oh my god, why is this so troublesome? So now that you know this about me, you'll understand I really mean it when I say that this is the easiest of the easiest way to handle milk kefir grains. Now, some people after watching this video is probably going to say that does not look right. You're doing things completely wrong. And to you, I say, well, you know what? This way has worked for me in the past many years. I'm still alive, and more importantly, the kefir grains are still alive. How do I know they're still alive? They're multiplying so much so that they're threatening to take over my entire kitchen. And I'm not kidding. So here's a short list of the things that I use. I use a transparent glass jar in which I house the milk with the kefir grains, a ceramic mug, a plastic sieve, and a plastic spoon. The important thing here is that you do not use anything that's metal because kefir will die when it comes in contact with metal. Of course, if you look at what I have here, you'll be like, hey, but doesn't this glass jar have a metal lid? As long as the kefir doesn't come in contact with the metal, it's fine. So I know that there are some recommendations to use a cheesecloth, and some people have asked me, well, aren't you supposed to use the cheesecloth with which to strain the kefir grains, or at least to put it on the top of the glass jar to protect the kefir from touching the metal lid, meaning they use a cheesecloth in between the glass jar and the metal lid. Well, honestly speaking, I have never heard of a cheesecloth before this question was asked to me. So, no, I do not use a cheesecloth. Alright, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you my way in which how I have been handling the kefir grains and been drinking the milk as a result of the culture from the kefir. So over here, what I have is milk that has been sitting with kefir grains outside at room temperature for more than 12 hours. How long you need to leave the kefir in the milk depends on how much milk and how much kefir you put in. The important thing is you need to leave it at room temperature because the kefir is not active when in the fridge. It works best when, outside resting in room temperature. So how do we tell that the milk culture is ready for consumption? This particular jar of milk has been sitting with the kefir grains out at room temperature for about 24 hours. And you can see that there appears to be some separation of solid and liquid. So what has happened here inside the milk is that the kefir grains have cultured the milk, solidifying a little bit, and that causes a separation. That's why you take a look, you can see that, there's a little bit of some kind of tofu-like substance that's inside the milk culture. So even from here, you can see how the milk has kind of like breaks in them. It's because the culture from the kefir has kind of broken up the milk a little bit. So if your milk culture looks anything like this, that's perfectly normal. It just means that the kefir grains are working their magic. So here's what I normally do. So I get a spoon and I normally stir it up. So when you stir the milk, you'll feel a little bit of resistance because of the solid culture due to the kefir working on the milk. And you'll find that the consistency is a little bit thick. Now, the longer it cultures, the more solidified the milk would be. What I normally do then is I put the plastic sieve on top of the mug and I pour the culture through the sieve. So with the spoon, just stir a little bit to get the milk to go through the sieve, and you'll find that there are lumps left behind on the sieve. And these lumps, those are your milk kefir grains. Just going to pour a little bit more, finish up the... So you can see from here I've got quite a little bit. In fact, How much I started with, I actually started with this much. My friend first gave me kefir that was just this much, and you can see how much I have now. In fact, this is not all I have. I have another jar sitting in the fridge, which is actually more than this amount in the plastic sieve here. So that's how I know I have been successful in culturing the milk kefir. So you see, you don't really need a cheesecloth. Just get a good plastic sieve with tiny little mesh in order to trap the kefir grains from going through the little holes. And there, that's the result of the culture. So you can see that the consistency is a little bit thicker than normal milk. So leave it out for as long as you need to your liking. You can test how long you want to leave it for, how many days even. And like I said, it really depends on how much kefir, how much milk, and how thick you like your milk culture to be. So now that I have my milk culture all ready, I'm going to drink it up. It's a little bit tangy, and the first time I drank it, it did take some getting used to, but now that I'm used to drinking this every day, I actually kind of like it and I look forward to it. And ladies, in case you didn't know, eating yogurt, because of the good bacteria, it's really good for your fauna in your private area. Milk kefir is an excellent alternative. It's said to be just as good, if not even better. Milk mustache. So what are we going to do now with these kefir grains which we have strained? We're going to put it in a fresh batch of milk in order to do the next batch of culture. Or if you like, you can even eat some of these kefir grains. They're really good for your gut, and of course they're edible. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put this in a fresh batch of milk, and I'm going to clean this up a little bit by washing it out. Do we need to use any kind of special water, you know, like filtered water or distilled water or something? No. I told you I'm really lazy, right? So I just use normal tap water and it still works. I'm gonna head over to the sink now and prove it to you. So what I normally do is I just run the kefir in the sieve under the tap to wash out the kefir grains. I also normally just wash out the jar to catch any kefir grains that hadn't been poured out when I was sieving out the initial kefir grains, and then pour it over again just to make sure that I get all the kefir, because you know we don't want living things to die for an unnecessary death, right? And that's it. Alright, so now that we have our milk kefir grains all nice and clean, we're going to put this into a fresh batch of milk. So I've already washed out the glass jar which I'm using, and just to share with you, the reason I like to use a transparent glass jar is because it enables me to see what's going on inside the culture, so I can see whether it's finished culturing or not, if it's ready for consumption. I think in theory you can use a ceramic mug, but the problem with ceramic mugs, and I've used this, I can't see what's going on inside, so I end up taking my spoon and I keep poking around to see, okay, has it worked or not? So annoying. Told you I'm looking for the easiest way, right? Okay, so what I normally do is I pour out milk. So how much I pour out depends on how much I want to take. Because I take this on a daily basis, I pour out about maybe half to a quarter mug's worth, so that it's enough for one sitting. Of course, if you want more, feel free to pour more. So if your milk has been sitting in the fridge, it still works. You just need to leave the milk out with the kefir for a little bit of a longer period. So for me, I find that with this much milk and this much kefir, I can leave this out for about 18 to 24 hours, which means it'll be ready to be consumed by the next day. Then I take a spoon and I put in the kefir grains. Of course, you can just dump it from the sieve, but that will just drop the kefir all over the place. So yeah, let's not waste any kefir. Let's not have the kefir die an unnecessary death. Now, because the glass jar comes with a metal lid, we do have to be careful not to let the milk or the kefir grains touch the metal lid. As long as we keep the glass jar in an upright position and just leave it like that, it's perfectly fine. I've been doing this for ages and so far, no problems. So I hope you found this video really helpful in figuring out the easiest way to handle milk kefir grains. If you're wondering where to get these kefir grains, you can either buy them online or just ask around. You'll find that you may have neighbors or friends who have a lot of these kefir grains and will be more than willing to share with you a little bit. So don't worry if there's not much to begin with. Like I shared just now, I started with 1 tiny teaspoon and now they have blossomed into some kind of monster. In fact, I have enough for I think 3 or 4 jars, and I'm looking to give these kefir greens as well. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to click like, hit subscribe for more how-to easy videos just like these, because Zyen likes to find the easiest way to do anything. Thanks for watching.